What's going on, people, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Too Many Games and Not Enough Time. Now, as you've seen from my YouTube channel, I have been doing content non-stop. Like, I've been doing this video, that video, that video, so I haven't dropped a Too Many Games for a long time. So I was thinking, if I'm coming back with a new episode, it's gotta be something extra special. So I've got a very extra special person. Not only is she extra special because of what she's been able to do for her career, but she's also a wonderful human being. So she is a presenter and producer for Logitech G. Yes, she is doing them PC games. She is a wordsmith. Yes, Scotland's very own. You might even hear her on the BBC. Yep, she used to do that games radar. And sometimes at night, you may see her in darkness with a cloak over her head because she is all about assassinations. She goes by the name of Louise Blain, but some of you may know her by Shiny Demon. Louise, welcome to Too Many Games. How are you?
I am fine, thank you, Midas. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. What an introduction. I feel like I can only be a disappointment after that introduction.
Well, you are a fabulous person, so I have to obviously give you the right intro. So we've known each other for quite a few years in gaming, but this is going to be the first content that we're really doing together, so I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So, we know the world has been in chaos for the last 4 months. Like, it's just been, everything's been happening. Obviously, COVID has changed the whole world. There's been lots of bad things happening in the gaming industry. We've all been locked in at home, and we've all had to kind of adapt our lives. So the whole premise of Too Many Games is talking to gamers and talking to friends, because for me, I feel like as gamers, our number one complaint is there's too much games and not enough time to play them. So we're all stuck indoors, so even if we're super busy working, we've got a lot more time than we do usually. So my first question to you, Louise, is now you have some extra time on your hands, what are you playing?
Oh, Midas, I have played far too much Animal Crossing. Like, the amount of Animal Crossing that I have played, it was the perfect time. I knew that, an Animal Crossing would come along. I've literally, back when the 3DS came out, I bought a 3DS because I knew at some point there would be an Animal Crossing game for it. And I bought it on day one. And by the time the Animal Crossing game came out, I'd sold the 3DS and then I had to buy a new one. That's how long it took. So by the time the Switch came along, I was like, well, when there's a Switch Animal Crossing, I'm going to play that forever, the same as I did with Wild World and New Leaf. And then New Horizons came along at the exact, 3 days before we had 3 months of lockdown. And I have, not even embarrassingly, I have embraced looking after my island in Animal Crossing. It's been a very comforting presence, I'd say.
So Animal Crossing has taken over the show, and not only just taken over the show, it has taken over the world. And it's dope because we've all been locked inside. We haven't been able to go on holidays. We haven't really been able to interact. And it's been an amazing way for you to have to be on a beach and just kind of live out your life in a fun way. But most people live out their Animal Crossing in a lovely, friendly manner. But people don't know you are a little bit sadistic. You are a horror lover. So break down your horror like Animal Crossing Island for us.
Well, you make me sound like a monster. I'm not a monster. I will break that parts of my island are beautiful. Parts of my island are joyous. They are beautifully, there's lines of flowers. And then there's also some little missing signs, and there's a haunted section that uses the shining carpet to walk you through it, and there's skeletons and corpses and graves, which they've put in the game. They've put graves in the game, they're a DIY. And if you make them as a DIY, of course I'm going to build them. Of course I am.
Oh, so that's your excuse because it's in the game?
Because it's in the game. It's in the game. So I have, there's a graveyard, and then in my basement. So everyone else's Animal Crossing kitchen, they want their ironwood kitchen, they want their diners, they want everything to match. I have a basement with a freezer in it, and a typewriter, and some candles, and some anatomical bodies. and some crime scene tape.
Wow.
That's what's in my Animal Crossing basement.
And do you know what makes it even more scary? It's in your basement.
That's
how sadistic it is. It's like, you wasn't like, oh, let me just put it into the room to the left or put it upstairs in the attic.
No,
it's in the basement.
Of course it's in the basement. Of course, there's no windows. No one can see what goes on in there, Midas. That's how it works.
See? Scary. But you've had like some celebrity Animal Crossing life. So like, come on, flex on him, show off.
Elijah Wood, he enjoyed my murder room. He arrived to sell his turnips as he was going around many islands, and I couldn't believe it. I got a DM from Elijah Wood saying, hey, can I come and sell my turnips on your island? And I was like, sure, you can slide into my DMs, Elijah Wood.
Could you imagine if in 2019 somebody said to you, you went to like a palm reader and they was like, Louise Blain, Elijah Wood will come to your island and come to your evil murder crime scene basement. You look at them like, can I have my money back, please?
Yeah, no, so this is lies. Yeah. No one was expecting this year, but at no point did I ever expect to text my mum to say that Elijah Wood was on my Animal Crossing island. And she replied with, The Hobbit. I was like, yes, Mum. The Hobbit came to my Animal Crossing island to sell his turnips. And he was very sweet and very polite. And he asked for a tour and he said my island was rad. So, that's my year made.
Most importantly, did he leave a tip?
No. So he asked if I needed anything. And I said, like an absolute, fangirl. I was like, no, it's fine. Could we have a picture? So then, and anyone that's played Animal Crossing, then maybe I didn't have my phone keyboard, so then I had to type out on the Switch. Everyone's paused like this while I'm desperately writing out, can I have a picture? And he was like, sure. And then we paused for this little happy picture of me doing Glee, and then I have that forever now.
Amazing. I hope you're gonna print that out and hang it on your wall.
Yes, I am actually. Yeah, I can do it. I can put it in a little frame. Ask him if he'll digitally sign it for me that day I met Elijah Wood.
Or if you have a real dungeon in your basement, then you can put it in there.
The only reason I don't have a real murder basement is because I live in a flat.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, but you can see there's the odd skull, and I think there's Pennywise. We have Pennywise here as well. Yeah,
loving it. All right, so another thing on Too Many Games is, as gamers, we're always going on about we're going to go back to our backlogs. All of these games coming out and we're like, oh, we'll play that in a minute. We'll play that. Oh, that's on my backlog. It's cool. I'm going to go back to it. And your backlog stays in the corner like some rotting tomatoes making a disgusting smell. And you look at it and you're like, I'm going to go back one day. Then you realize you need some space and you just delete it and you never go back. But you got a bit more time on your hand.
Yeah.
What game or games from your backlog are you wanting to get into? Now, 2020's had some big games, so it could be quite a good backlog.
I have a serious backlog. I have that serious problem where I play on PS4, but I also play on PC. So playing on PC means that anytime the Steam sale comes around, you're like, I'm going to buy all these games because it's a great price. So I bought a stack of Planet Coaster packs because I love Planet Coaster. I love theme parks. But I haven't really played with that yet. What I have played, I played Assassin's Creed again, Midas. But it's because I'm trying to finish all of the DLC, completely clean it all up by the time I get to Valhalla. So that's top of my backlog. So that's what I've been in.
So we don't want to gloss over this because I made a joke about you being an assassin. You are the Assassin's Creed queen. You embody everything about this game. When Valhalla got announced, the only person I wanted to speak to about it or listen to it about it is you. You embody that game. So what is it about AC that just grabs you so much? And which AC have you been playing from your backlog? Because there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. So the first answer to the first question, I think, when you have that game that it's either from when you're really young and you're playing games, or maybe they got you back into gaming when you came back. Maybe you'd left it in a bit in PS2. So I played PS2 and I'd left it for a while, and then I picked up a PS3 and my brother gave me Assassin's Creed 2 to play and said, you need to play this. And I played it and I fell in love with it in a way that I hadn't fallen in love with a game ever before, because it was massive and expansive, and the music was beautiful, and it was just this brilliant world that just kept unraveling and kept getting bigger and bigger. One minute you were in Tuscany, and then you were in Venice, and then you were in Florence, and you were doing all these things, and you were entombed, and it completely said to me, this is how games can feel. But what that meant was, it's meant that every Assassin's Creed since that I have played has given me a new historical world to experience. It's done that same thing of giving life to this amazing world. So I've been through all of them, and they've all kind of ticked boxes in different ways. I've had less favourite ones, and ones that really didn't do it for me. But all the way through it, like, I feel Assassin's Creed. Like, I feel how it's meant to feel. When you're running across those rooftops and you hear the sound of the tiles under your feet, and it is just free and wonderful. So that's why I love Assassin's Creed. And the ones I've been playing from my backlog, I looked at playing the Ezio trilogy again. I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dive back in. I haven't played Revelations for a while, but I did go back into it and suddenly felt immediately guilty that I hadn't finished all of the DLC from Odyssey. So I played a bit of that, and then I came straight back into Odyssey and went back into the DLCs. And there's like the Fate of Atlantis DLC. Takes you into actual Atlantis. So I've been messing around in Atlantis, which has been wonderful.
Does it feel really weird going into the old ACs compared to the new ones? Because they're literally completely different games now.
Yeah, like, people talk about when you used to play Assassin's Creed, you used to have the Assassin's Creed claw. Do you remember you had to hold R2 to free run? But then you would hold X to go faster, and you wouldn't ever be quite sure whether you were holding X to jump or whether it would make you jump, launch yourself backwards off a tower, and you'd end up on the floor. So
that's so true.
there's going back to them is different. There's still that amazing feeling. I think the furthest you can go back and still go, I'm right back into this, is maybe Black Flag, because that was the one that crossed over between PS3 and PS4. So that was the one that you could get on both.
My favourite AC ever.
Is that your one?
That's
one?
Favorite. Yeah.
Why is it your favourite?
I don't know. Like, firstly, what's really weird is I really don't like Assassin's Creed 3. Don't like it at all. Didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even enjoy the pirate parts in it. It just felt really kind of shoehorned in. And my little sister was like, "Oh my god, have you seen Black Flag?" And I'm like, "No, I'm done with Assassin's Creed now." And she was like, "No, it looks really, really cool." I'm like, "I'm done with it." She was like, "No, things." So I was like, I watched a couple of videos and I was like, actually, this looks pretty cool. And I love pirates. I think pirates are really cool. And yeah, I just love the story. I just think it works. It's the last AC other than Odyssey that really just worked for me.
Yeah. No, it's such a, like, I mean, I love Black Flag. I love the shanties in Black Flag. I love the fact it's got that freedom thing. It's got that Assassin's thing where you just can go onto the sea and you can do whatever you want. You can go whale hunting, which is actually why Valhalla now looks really exciting again, because you can do all that again. You can go hunting. You can go hunting on land. You can go hunting on sea. And it feels like it's doing that Black Flag thing again. But at the same time, it's bringing social stealth back, so we'll actually be able to be stealthy. It's bringing the hidden blade back after Odyssey replaced it with the broken spear of Leonidas, and we didn't have the assassinate button. So it's kind of meshing together all the things, hopefully, that we love about Assassin's Creed. And it's bringing back Jesper Kyd, who hasn't done the soundtrack since Revelations. It was a different composer. It was I think it was just Lauren Balfe that did 3, and then it's been variations with a few different people all the way through. But Jesper coming back, and you can hear it because I've been listening to it on Spotify, because of course I have. But like, you can hear it's Jesper Kyd, and you can hear that it feels like old school Assassins, but with all this new stuff.
So it's funny listening to you talk about AC is like listening to me talk about Final Fantasy 7. Like, you could just go down that rabbit hole forever.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. I love it. I love the excitement on your face. All right, so I got some time on my hands as well. I've been banging it out this year. I've been playing a lot of games. But what game do you recommend that I should play while quarantine is happening? What recommendation have you got for me? And why?
Interesting. So one game that I have gone back to and that I was absolutely obsessed with for a while, and I don't know how you feel about roguelikes, you might just hate it automatically, but have you ever played The Binding of Isaac?
I haven't.
So this is my play for you here. The Binding of Isaac I got completely obsessed with a few years ago, because initially I went into it thinking, top-down, bit weird, bit dark, basement full of basically full of giant horrific spiders and feces and spider babies and all kinds of strange things. But every time you go into Isaac, you get different powers, you get different unlocks, you get different things. So it feels like every time it's a new game. And all Edmund McMillan has done since he launched it is add new things to it. So I dived in last week and it felt like a completely different game from the one I played a year ago, simply because of how many updates had to it. So that's the game that I go, oh, just 5 minutes, and then an hour later I'm still doing another run. So that's my recommendation to everyone who's never played Isaac but never understood why it's a thing. And you'll hate it. You'll be like, why am I firing tears? Which just it's not a bullet hell game. What even is it? But then something in it just clicks, and Isaac becomes just this boss obsessed nightmare that you can't stop thinking about.
I really like the art style of it. I think the art style and like the character design of it looks really cool, but I've never got into it, so it's definitely something that I'm interested in checking out.
It's good. No, do it, Midas.
Alright, before I let you leave me, I've just got one more question for you, because like I know you could talk about AC all day, but you've had the pleasure of playing Valhalla.
Yes.
And you are the AC queen. What is it about this game that is going to draw someone back who has completely fallen off the AC bandwagon? Yeah.
So I think what will draw people back was what I was talking about earlier, and the fact that you've got the hidden blade back, so you can instantly kill people. Because I think one of the things that's happened with Assassin's Creed is it's gone from being this very linear but open world adventure where you kind of jumped into the quest line where you wanted, but the rest of the time you could just do side quests that were again also quite linear. You would fetch quests and all the rest of it. But what it did in Origins and especially in Odyssey was became full action RPG. So it went full Witcher basically. Yeah. And a lot of people didn't like that, because they're like, that's not my Assassin's Creed. My Assassin's Creed does not have choice. Like, I don't know about you, but I get massive like decision anxiety of whether I'm going to get the right ending, because at least if someone puts you through a narrative experience, you know you're going to have you're going to make the right choices, right? So I think that's a big choice. I don't think Valhalla's not taking that away. We're still going to have choices and impacts and different things to do. But I think bringing back the assassination button, sort of taking away the idea of levels, which Origins and Odyssey both did. Yeah. There's now power levels, which is kind of the same thing but not quite. But it does mean that if you want to be stealthy, like I played a boss, like this guy that had a wolf and wanted to take me down, and I went fully in through the castle through the front gate. I battered down doors. There was like burning tar, there was arrows, all the rest of it. So by the time I got to him, he knew I was coming. But there is actually a way that you can do that level by going around the back of the castle, climbing up the castle walls, and getting one up on him basically. And while you can't get him in one go, you can properly give him a good shot, take a big chunk off his health before you fight him.
So they've given you that yeah. There's the freedom's still there, but if you're not enjoying that big freedom experience, you can play it more linear like the old games. Yeah,
and you can play it a little more assassin-y. You can put up your hood and you can sneak, and I think that's what some people miss from it. So that's what people will come back for: social stealth, blending in with all the people in hoods around you, because Vikings, they have hoods, and that assassinate button.
Yeah, that's totally me. That's how I like to play. Louise, thank you so much for joining me on Too Many Games. Where can the people find you?
Find me on Twitter. So @shiny_demon is where you can find all my assassins and horror movie and true crime nonsense.
I've been Mr. Midas. She's been Louise Blain. We are out.